Welcome to our special event today in honor of National Autism Awareness Month, an afternoon of comedy with Asperger's or Us. I'm Susan Daniels, Director of the Office of Autism Research Coordination at the National Institute of Mental Health, which is one of the components of the National Institutes of Health. Our office manages the Interagency Autism Coordinating Committee, which is a federal advisory committee composed of federal officials and public stakeholders that provides advice collectively to the Secretary of Health and Human Services on issues related to autism. Our office also hosts workshops and special events like this one on behalf of the IACC and on behalf of the NIH. Today's event is an opportunity for us to recognize the important role that individuals on the autism spectrum play in our lives and in our communities, and to express our support for greater understanding, acceptance, inclusion, and empowerment of people on the autism spectrum. We also affirm our commitment to supporting the needs of the autism community. Later this month, on April 28th, we will be hosting a second special event focused on the response of federal agencies to the needs of the autism community during the coronavirus pandemic. Details about that event will be shared at the end of this event. I'm happy to extend a special welcome today to our honored guests, Noah Britton, a former member of the Interagency Autism Coordinating Committee. Welcome, Noah. Ethan Finland, New Michael Injami, and Jack Hankey, the comedians from Asperger's or Us. Asperger's or Us is the first comedy troupe composed of people diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome. They've performed over 150 original sketch shows in 10 countries since 2010. They have also been featured in an HBO docuseries and one Netflix documentary. We are going to be having a discussion with the troupe on their experience as comedians on the autism spectrum and as members of the autism community. We had originally scheduled this event to take place last year in person, but we had to cancel due to the coronavirus pandemic. But we're pleased today to be able to bring this to you via a virtual platform. Before we talk with Asperger's or Us, I'd like to share how members of our viewing audience can participate. We have a live feedback link on the NIH video webcast page, which you can see below, where the red is circled. That's the videocast live feedback link. You can click that link to send questions that you would like to see addressed in the audience Q&A, and I'll be reading some of those questions. We won't have time to cover all of them, but we will select a few to ask the group after we're done with the interview. And you can use that link to also send us messages if you're having technical difficulties, and you'll get some assistance. Next, I'd like to introduce Dr. Shelley Avenevoli, the Deputy Director of the National Institute of Mental Health, to share a special greeting on behalf of NIMH. Shelley?
Thanks so much, Susan. Each year, we enjoy this opportunity during National Autism Awareness Month to recognize the contributions of individuals on the autism spectrum and their families, and to support their full inclusion in all aspects of community life. The National Institute of Mental Health and its sister institutes at the National Institutes of Health are strongly committed to supporting research on autism, along with a wide variety of physical health, mental health, and behavioral health conditions and developmental disabilities. Through research, the NIH and the NIMH aim to improve our understanding of autism and contribute to efforts to improve the quality of life for individuals on the autism spectrum and their families. Thank you so much to our special guests for being with us today. I'm very much looking forward to this hour and a half time with you. We're looking forward to hearing more about your experiences and your work. And Susan, back to you.
Thank you so much. So to start, I'd like to show a clip from the trailer of the recent HBO docuseries On Tour with Asperger's or Us. And this will be followed by a couple of clips from comedy routines by Asperger's or Us.
Amazing. You might sell out. Guys, let's make this our best show ever. It's true, we're Asperger's or Us, the first comedy troupe of people with Asperger's syndrome.
So if we're not funny, blame it on Ethan's disability.
We'll tour the country trying to be funny for all the Aspies and their friends. We'll get famous, thanks Mark Duplass.
We are going to do our first summer tour, all the way from the Northeast to LA.
We're so happy we get to be doing comedy all day. Sorry we sold out again.
Yeah! Go!
I think it's something we're still trying to figure out. Just how niche are we? Just how mainstream are we?
We definitely can't do anything we haven't rehearsed.
I think this is a bad idea.
Uh-oh. Every minute of every day is a new bad surprise.
So my daughter is 8. She just got diagnosed with Asperger's.
Oh, congrats to her.
I'm feeling more and more strongly that I want to pursue comedy full time.
It really is about the best life I could imagine. This is gonna be fun. Or worst case, it won't.
Hey, you know with your haircut that way, you look a lot like Ollie Dink Johnson.
Yeah, I do. And just like him, I was born October 28th, 1892 in Biloxi, Mississippi, and was a Dixieland jazz pianist, clarinetist, and drummer. Background. I was born in Biloxi, Mississippi, younger brother of the bass player / band leader William Manuel Johnson. I worked around Mississippi and New Orleans, Louisiana before moving to the western United States in the early 1910s. I played around Nevada and California, often with my brother Bill. Most prominently, I played with the original Creole Orchestra, mostly on drums. For many years, I was based in Los Angeles, California, where I led a band in the 1920s and later ran a bar. Edit. Recordings. I made my first recordings in 1922 on clarinet with Kid Ory's band. I made more recordings in the 1940s and 1950s, mostly on piano, although doing some one-man band recordings, playing all 3 of my instruments through overdubbing. Edit. Music. My piano style was influenced by Jelly Roll Morton, who was my brother-in-law, and my clarinet playing was influenced by Larry Shields. I also wrote tunes, including the Crooked Blues, recorded by King Oliver, and So Different Blues. Edit. Death. I died in Portland, Oregon on November 29, 1954.
Wow, you really do have a lot in common with him.
So we're so excited to have you all here and looking forward to talking with you. So now, Asperger's or Us, can you please introduce yourselves?
Hello. I think that was a perfect introduction. Next question. Go ahead, Ethan.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and each of you.
No, I do not appreciate these kind of loaded questions. You did not prepare us for an ambush interview.
Yeah.
Can you throw us a few softballs first, just so we can sort of get warmed up? I don't want to.
I know this is already starting out a little rough.
But if she throws softballs, my computer will break. So make sure you have really good aim.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, anyway, my name is Asperger's R Us, and I'm a comedy troupe.
Asperger's or Us? Oh, we're 11. Thanks, Asperger's or Us. Great.
Welcome. So where do you all live? What do you do besides comedy, or is your full-time job? And tell us anything else you want to tell us about yourselves before we get started.
I was a long time steel mill worker.
New Michael, I think, has been replaced by extremely old Michael today. But extremely old Michael, make sure you're audible. It's hard to hear you saying that you're a steel worker. I'm Noah Britton. I'm a psych professor and a life coach for adults on the autism spectrum, and I also co-lead a support group. But right now my main gig is comedy because we're doing a comedy show at this moment. So it's my full-time 100% of my attention is dedicated to what we're doing right now. But in an hour, I'll go back to being unemployed. And then an hour later, I'll lead my support group full-time.
My name is Jack Hinke. I'm also a full-time comedian during this show. But outside of this show, I am an aspiring human trafficking researcher, or at least someone who works in the human trafficking or anti-human trafficking field. I'm on the anti-axis when it comes to slavery opinions.
Jack inadvertently made that joke, so I don't have to.
We said no controversial stuff, Jack.
Right.
Ethan, sorry, go ahead.
Ethan Finland, not Ethan Sorry. I'm a freelance writer and a transportation advocate in the Boston area. Presently a full-time comedian, but only for now.
Yeah, he's on the anti-side of transportation.
Yeah, I oppose it.
Don't we all?
This work from home stuff is great.
Well, excellent. Well, those are some great introductions. So, all right. So I'll throw you my first softball question. Can you start by telling us a little bit about your experience as a young person growing up on the spectrum, and what were some of the significant or formative experiences that led you to where you are today?
I remember is pure darkness and warmth. And then I was expelled out into a very cold, bright area, and I began crying, and a man in doctor scrubs smacked me on the butt, and a woman who I later came to know as my mom held me, and I don't really remember much after that. Do you guys have anything?
I think that's when Ethan knew Michael when I found him, abandoned in the hospital, and we took him home and cared for him, and
that's when we found that that rusty old pair of scissors we used to finally separate him from the mother.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was you guys? Wow.
Yeah.
I owe you even more than I knew. I think the
yeah, eventually Ethan had to use his teeth.
What was that?
And eventually Ethan had to use his teeth.
I still have scars.
That's how you eat.
That's pretty rough.
I don't know. What do we want to say about being in the troupe? It's more fun than not being in a comedy troupe.
It's more fun than years and years at the sawmill.
Well, I think this question is more about our formative experiences before becoming a comedy troupe. Is that right?
Yeah, I guess.
Did you discover that you were funny right out of the womb? Were you comedians from the very beginning? When did you first think that you were interested in comedy?
Wait, is she saying we're funny? Oh my God. What, Jack? You broke up.
Stop bringing up my breakups.
Too soon.
I forget what I was going to say, but I guess to answer the question seriously, I don't think I realized I was funny until like 8, 10, 11 or so at summer camp. Not the one where I met these guys, a different summer camp. And I don't know, give me more self-esteem, which is always terrible.
I think I realized pretty early on. It took me a while to figure out that this is something I can use to make friends.
The funniest thing that ever happened to me was in 1972 at the sawmill. This is when I realized I was funny. I said, hey, Frankie Giuliani, hey, don't you dare put your finger where that saw goes. And he did anyway. He thought I was joking. And his finger came off. That was the funniest thing that ever happened at the sawmill. I said, I gotta go to comedy after that.
Wait, was that the funniest thing that happened to you or to the sawmill?
I would think both, right? I mean, how could anything pass that?
They didn't have cameras there in those days, for the better, pretty much. But for the worse, because we'll go crazy. We'll do the runs on YouTube and stand down on film.
I think.
So, well, with your group, how did you form, and when did you become Asperger's or Us?
First
ago, a number of atoms coalesced into a sort of nascent planetoid orbiting.
None of us is named Adam, Jack. Come on.
Right, I got confused. I'm thinking of something else.
That joke was funny on like a molecular level, but like let's stick to the real answer.
I don't know the answer, so why don't you?
I don't know.
Well, as Jack said, yeah, it's okay. Sometimes. It's been several years, He is a exactly. Yeah, we like Jack said, we met at a summer camp, and then we decided, well, we all made each other laugh and seemed to make other people laugh, so we decided to start doing comedy shows. That was almost 11 years ago now. And since then, we've ended up touring the world in 2017. Yeah, it's been a ride.
We met
summer camp, am I right?
We met.
That's our funniest joke.
Too soon. We met in 2005 at camp, and it was a Aspie camp for learning improv and acting, but I ran my group more like a comedy group because it was more instantly gratifying, and I'm not a very good actor, so I can't really teach it, but these guys were some of the funniest people, and that was why I was like, let's do this elsewhere, because every day I would just be like exhausted from laughing so much from these guys being so funny. And no, the camp doesn't exist anymore, to all of you wondering about whether you can go there, sadly, but it was really important to us when we were young.
Casualty to the Great Chicago Fire.
I want to explain one thing about the sketches that you just watched. I don't know if it was clear that in the You Know Who You Look Like sketch, Ethan's just reading the Wikipedia for this guy named Ollie Dink Johnson, but the reason we picked Ollie Dink Johnson as being similar to Ethan is that he was born exactly 100 years earlier than Ethan, and so we were like, this is perfect. He has the same birthday. Let's make him the guy that he looks like, even though they did not ever look anything alike.
Well, no.
Probably. I mean, I guess now they do. Because
Billy Roll one. Yeah.
And the other one at the end of the celery sketch, Jack hands the celery wrapped up in wrapping paper to someone in the crowd who we did not know. And some of them kept it, which I thought was kind of weird. Sorry, Susan, what was your question?
So I guess I didn't get a chance to get any celery from you. Maybe in a few.
We would have definitely done it live at this show, and next time we'll remember, Jack, give it to Susan.
If you want to drive up here,
I'm
happy to give.
You can clone us from it because it has both of our saliva on there. You work at NIH.
What?
They've perfected cloning by now, right?
They're working on it, I think.
Oh, I don't really follow the news.
That's healthy that you hand out.
What are my tax dollars going to if not cloning me from a half-eaten piece of celery?
Well, that'll be a future opportunity, I guess, for your contribution to research. So, what were some of the biggest challenges you faced in breaking into the world of comedy, especially as autistic professionals and being pioneers in the field? What did you experience?
Rheumatoid arthritis.
That sucks. I'm sorry, old Michael. From working in the sawmill for so long.
Rheumatoid arthritis. Hemorrhoids. My life's too much.
I think one thing that I do want to mention sincerely, a lot of people don't know what to expect and assume a variety of things erroneously about us. And, we're just here to be funny for people who like silly stuff, and Aspies seem to like this style of humor. It seems to come naturally to us. That really subtle stuff that Jack is particularly good at. And so sometimes we get people who are really expecting something other than that, and they leave disappointed or confused. They're like, I don't know what's going on, but good job, patting us on the back for trying. But in reality, all the jokes are going over their heads. Or it's just not their thing.
It's like what Cervantes says, honey's not worthy of the mouth of the ass. So I don't like it. No.
Don Quixote. I haven't read it yet. I will. I promise.
No,
But
right.
But yeah, I guess that's been the biggest challenge, is getting people to recognize we're very consciously aware of what we're doing that's silly, but it's subtle and it might pass people by. Like, for example, right behind me is my PhD, which was handmade by a friend of mine. You can kind of see it there. It's handwritten PhD of hamburgerology, because McDonald's refused to give me an honorary doctorate. So I had my friend hand make one. And this is the kind of thing where if you're not Asperger's or us, people be like, that's really funny. You don't really have a doctorate from McDonald's, but people might be like, oh, he thinks that's a real degree and he loves hamburgers. There's some ridiculous assumption that's completely unfair. And that's something we are pretty tired of dealing with.
You think forgery is funny. That's his point.
We do think forgery is funny. I think forgery is very funny as long as it's pointless. If I were using this for a job, it would not be funny.
Did you start touring early on in your comedic career, or did that sort of happen later as you gained more fame and notoriety?
Our first gig outside of Massachusetts, where we all live and lived in 2012, was in Texas, I think in 2011 or 12. And then our first national tour was 2016. That you can see in our Netflix movie. The first international tour, which we booked entirely on our own, was 2017. We went to Europe, and then we went back in 2019, and that was amazing. And who knows what the future holds? That's true. What does it hold, Jack? I always forget that you're psychic. The what?
Mostly cups.
Cups? Okay. Well, at least we won't have a shortage of places to keep liquid in the future.
It's like a better version of cup holders.
It's like a what?
Like a better version of cup holders.
Cup holders? Okay, cool. Huh. I'm excited for the future for the first time. Thank you, Jack.
So what gives you the inspiration for your sketches?
Nothing.
You're just kidding. We get them all from Wikipedia. There's this long Wikipedia article called List of Asperger's Arrest Sketches, and we write all of our sketches down. Copy them down from there.
We put them on Wikipedia, then we go back and look. Copy them down.
I don't think we put them on there. Like, actually, do you guys know where they came from in the first place?
I've been writing them for years and just putting them on Wikipedia. That's how I workshop sketches.
What? You never told us this.
You're using the name Asperger's Us as name losers. These sketches are horrible.
It's a long username that I had to commit to the bit. Guys, I am. I'm surprised you even use Wikipedia after
My daughter-in-law shows me how.
Oh yeah. How is she anyway?
She's doing okay. She's recovering from a fall.
Well, that happens every spring, right? Yeah, I don't know. We had sorry, go ahead, Susan.
Oh, no. I was just going to say, in your travels and doing shows around the country and around the world, have you felt like you've been able to connect with the autism community in different places? And what has that taught you, or what have you learned through doing that?
No, it is not.
We've met hundreds of autistic people traveling, touring, and some of them we get along with really well, and we love them, and they become lifelong friends, and it's great. And they're who we started Asperger's Are Us for, people who really understand our sense of humor. Like, shout out to Eamon. We love you. We assume you're not watching because you live in England, but we love you all the same. But yeah, so that's been really nice. But of course, autism is so heterogeneous that plenty of autistic people in the crowd don't get it and aren't into our sense of humor. They might like stuff that's more observational than we like, and that's fine for them. But it's not the particular subset of autism that our comedy hits.
Basically, to me, there are like two types of autism. The type that likes to wrestle in the mud and get a little dirty, and then the type that is into something else.
Which one are we?
Well, then maybe we can get along.
The funny thing is these two groups are about the same size.
Well, then I guess the one who likes to wrestle probably wins.
Yeah.
So what have you found rewarding about doing this work?
Absolutely. Mostly the money.
Yeah, I was going to say, cha-ching.
That's what I lost.
What, Ethan? You cut off.
He dropped his trophy in the sawmill, even though it's been closed for 30
That's what I told you. I actually sold it for 30 cents.
This is, speaking of trophies, this is a trophy. I think I bought this one when we were on tour in Washington, but I bought a second place and a third place medal from one of our favorite stores that we got to visit. And I gave the third place medal to Mark Duplass, who made our movie and our TV show. And I gave the second place one to my girlfriend. And she got really mad that I gave her this that says number 2 in my heart. And she gave it back to me because she was so insulted. But I was like, that's so funny. And everyone's like, why didn't you buy, well, who did you give the first place medal to? And I'm like, I'm not going to give myself a first place medal. That would just be arrogant and rude.
I don't know which is what. I'll have the number 1 in your heart or have the number 2 in your heart.
I would do number 2.
You need heart surgery if you get number 2 in your heart.
If eating like these two guys did, two guys eating from the same celery, they'll get number 2 straight to your heart.
Number 1.
So do you feel like being on HBO and Netflix has changed your life in any way? What have been the changes that you've seen since you've probably gained more fame? You've been involved with more people through these series.
It used to be that you'd turn on the TV and you wouldn't see us, but now you do.
Now you turn on the TV and you don't see us.
See, now it's a little bit of awkwardness for people who don't understand us.
Right.
And still don't understand us after seeing the movie or the TV show. That's no understanding. Apart from that, everything is the same. They're just like 1973 all over. Ricky Giovanni still don't got his finger.
Iron Butterfly is still at the top of the charts.
Oh, yeah.
We used to get recognized after the movie came out on Netflix. We got recognized on the street a little bit. And it made me have a lot more sympathy for famous people because our popularity petered off and now we don't get recognized anymore. And so we can go to the store without somebody hassling us or, wanting to pitch us something. And it made me really feel for famous people who can never be alone for even a second when they're outdoors.
The orange hat.
What about your orange hat?
That's why I started wearing this orange hat. Nobody recognizes me.
But yeah, so it was fun for a little bit, and I think my biggest regret is that we didn't come up with some planned thing to do every time somebody recognized us. It always caught us off guard. And I guess that's the difference, is when you've been dealing with it for 40 years like Bill Murray has, you're prepared. But yeah, that was the big change. And we got to tour Europe because of the movie, which we're really grateful for.
So, well, in this whole process, have there been any role models or mentors that have helped you along the way, or people that you look to for inspiration?
I think we look up to our stalker a lot.
I like looking up to this avatar up here at the top right of the computer. There's a couple of good-looking boys.
I think all of us look up to Dave Britton a lot. My dad, who inspired me to pursue comedy. I grew up really loving and studying comedy. I wanted to be in a sketch troupe since I was 12, and Kids in the Hall were a big part of that. So I was really grateful. We have a question from the audience, which is neat, that says we're hilarious. So that's cool. Asking, are you doing any virtual shows, and where can I find you? And clearly this person does not know what you're watching, because this is a virtual show and you can find us right here. Live in the moment.
How much money you got?
Yeah. We will do a virtual show if you will pay us.
Listen, this is what Dave Britton taught us. He showed us the ropes. Right? And the thing is, like, apart from don't go and picking fights after closing time, which is something some of us learn the hard way, is how much money you got. If you want a show, how much money you got.
Beats working in the sawmill.
I think the sawmill.
What, Susan?
Oh, I said the sawmill must be a hard life. So do you guys mentor others in the comedy area, or do you work with other young people in this who are interested in getting into comedy?
A little bit. We primarily work against young people, though.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the thing is, like, if anybody else goes into comedy, it cuts down the amount of shows we can get. So our main goal, if anything, if you take one thing from us, do not go into comedy so that we can get all of the show offers. If and when we get too many to take, then we might say, Stephen Wright can get back into comedy, but we want him to retire until we're making maybe $2 million a year from this.
We're hoping there's so few comedians out there that everybody will forget what comedy even is. And then we'll show them, and they'll think we's invented it. Then we'll get the Nobel Prizes.
She already mentioned us being pioneers. Nobel Prize in comedy, right?
Oh, that's great. I'm sure they'll be nominated.
It sounds like a gas. Little Nobel humor for you chemistry fans out there. Periodically, I'll just table the conversation and bring that in. It's sort of elemental to what we do.
You should write your own column about that stuff.
Should write my own what about that stuff?
Write your own column about that stuff.
Column? Oh, nice. Okay. A little complicated periodic table pun.
So how has your work together influenced your relationships with each other as you've grown together, working on comedy together? What has that been like?
We started out as friends, and we worked our way all the way up to colleagues.
Mm-hmm.
True?
Yep. It's true.
Maybe when they let me pour all that sawdust down their lungs too, we could talk about being friends again.
It doesn't sound worth it. Not yet. Yeah, working together is hard. When we were in Liverpool, we took a picture in front of a sign that said, no friendship can withstand the brunt of close contact. I'm paraphrasing. And I thought it was a funny thing to take a picture of while we were on tour, but it's true.
I've been sitting close to these guys for the last 40 minutes or so, and I'm already disgusted.
Cuteness can overcome a lot of that stuff. And I find these young guys, real cute and precious. So no matter how much they may bother me, The cuteness overcomes all. That's my philosophy. That's what I've learned.
Thank God. He mentioned we weren't cute.
I mean, I think that definitely for you anyway, old Michael, the cuteness really overcomes your horrendous voice of sawdust.
I think it's very soothing. Why I poured all this sawdust down his throat. Very soothing voice.
Yeah, he has 8 consecutive tracks of just him, of just me, Michael, talking in that voice that he listens to every night to fall asleep.
And you think I got the sawdust in my lungs from working in the mill? What, he's just stupid? He insulted me? They had OSHA back then. I'm not that old.
How'd you get the sawdust in your lungs then?
He gave me open lung surgery, pointed straight in. And he didn't even measure it right.
Did you get too much or too little?
He measured by the gram. I don't care how much it was. You got to use the right unit. In this country, we use the British system.
Oh, grandmother. Right. All right. What was your next question, Susan?
So what have you been doing during the pandemic? You've been able.
What have we been doing during what?
During the pandemic, have you been doing virtual shows, or what have you been doing in terms of your comedy? Or just keeping yourself happy with your comedy as we all go through this together?
I think I may not be the best person to answer this, but maybe my good friend Hubert is the best person to answer this. Unfortunately, so, during the pandemic, you have a lot of spare time where you don't have a lot to do. And so you're sitting there, you're bored, you're like, maybe I should take up a new hobby. Maybe I should, learn a new skill. And I didn't do that. I haven't learned ventriloquism.
Okay. So are you working with ventriloquism?
No. Nope.
No?
Hubert just sits there. He's a handsome guy, though. Cuteness makes up for a lot, just like old Michael said.
Yeah, that's one of the dominating forces in this world. Money, cuteness, energy.
Sawdust.
Sawdust. So is there anything else you had wanted to talk about before we switch over to the audience questions? I also do want to know about your future plans, but anything that I didn't ask you that you'd love to answer?
It's so important to stay positive. No matter what happens in life, it'll work out 1,000 times better if you're positive, you've got a good attitude. Everybody's got problems, but if you approach it with a positive attitude, it'll be better than if you approach it with a, woe is me attitude.
I think that sounds okay. I wouldn't say I agree totally. I guess
a comedian here.
One thing I want to mention that we have merch for sale. So those of you who are familiar with our work might be familiar with our shirt, which you can get in black and white or white and black. And it's on our website, aspergersorus.com. We have all sizes. And obviously, when somebody asks, you run away in fear.
Only been worn 5 times.
Well, yeah. But like with lots of breaks in between.
Well, the value of a shirt goes up the more you wear, the more it's been pre-worn. So
Mm-hmm. I call that vintage sweat. And aspergersorus.com is not a unsafe website, despite what your browser says. It auto flags our host, which is geocities.ws, as a spam website, but we don't spam with it. It's just that other people who use geocities.ws do that.
I see. Well, thank you for sharing. We do have your web on the web page for this event, so people can find it there. Cool. So, what are your future for your study group?
What, Jack?
Sorry.
To an unsafe site.
It says it's an unsafe site, but it's not unsafe. It's safe.
Well, that is unsafe. I don't know. I think we should report the NIH.
Exactly. The NIH stole my data.
Who know how to get online? That's all.
I don't think anyone here knows how to get online.
Our future plans include learning how to use the internet for the first time. What are all these keys for? I don't know.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Is there anything else you wanted to say before we?
If anybody wants to book us to do a virtual show, we'll do it. You just got to pay us. Email us via our website. We are happy to respond.
Pay us.
Yeah, pay us virtually, and we will virtually perform. Interpret that however you want.
Before the pandemic, we were trying to see if we could get someone to hire us to come out to Australia, which is one of the few English-speaking parts of the world that we haven't been yet. So if anyone out here from Australia and there's U.S. government screen, love to have you.
Right.
Over there.
Exactly. Will the U.S. government pay us to fly to Australia and do a show out there? That would be cool.
I'd like to take a flight with a kangaroo.
Again?
I think the kangaroo probably has that one in the pocket.
Okay, we'll take questions from the viewers now.
Yeah, questions from the viewers.
I'm waiting to get a couple of questions. Oh, do you have a question? Go ahead.
Dummy.
Oh, sorry. My bad.
This is a joke that Jack has done for approximately 10 years during all of our Q&As at the end of our shows.
Why he, adapted to become so cute.
Otherwise I'd be dead. And I already am in a sense.
Let me think what else we want to talk about. We want to send a shout out to all our favorite comedians. Joe Pera, Jamie Loftus, Eric Andre, who else? Brent Weinbach. Who?
Andrew Carnegie.
Andrew Carnegie, although I was trying to go with living comedians, but that's, he was pretty successful. I guess it extended to death. Who else do we love very much? What?
He was so successful that he died.
That's true.
Shout out to our least successful, or least favorite comedians.
Yeah. Jack Hankey, Ethan Finland, Noah Britton.
Yeah.
What, Jack?
Less of a respectful shout, more of a threatening shout.
Yep. Shout out to all four of our least favorite comedians, us.
So here's a question. What advice would you give a young person on the spectrum who wants to get into comedy or show business?
That's too generic. It depends on the person. No matter what advice you give, it really depends on the person. So I wouldn't give no advice to nobody unless I knew them personally.
I would say it depends on how talented they are. I mean, if they're pretty talented and they might pose a threat to our corner of the market, I would say they should absolutely not attempt to be a comedian, because then we will get fewer shows. But if they're not very talented and they're not very funny, I would say they should definitely try.
Because it'll make us look better in comparison? Yeah. That's why we got into this business, to make Stephen Wright and Emo Phillips look better in comparison. No, I actually do want to mention, since we don't have a ton of questions, I want to mention some sincere advice to autistic people, because we haven't gotten into any of that, and I bet some of the viewers do want to know. If you're interested in comedy or performing, or people have told you you're very creative,
they're lying.
It's possible. I was trying to figure out how to word that, but it is possible. I think it's important to pay attention to feedback you receive from people who seem to be saying the same thing. So I forget who said this, but if you hear the same piece of feedback from multiple people, consider the fact that it might be true, and don't decide that just because you like what you're doing that it's automatically good. It took me a while to figure that out. Not to say that you shouldn't have your own standards, but if what you're doing is unclear to the audience, if what you're doing is something that they dislike, maybe it's because you're not being clear, or maybe it's because you really don't know what would make you laugh if you saw someone else do it. Like watching the Ollie Dink Johnson sketch that we were just doing, it made me laugh so hard, and it made me really happy. So I was like, that's a good sketch. I like that sketch. It's making me laugh 10 years later, even though we wrote it. But like it was exactly the sense of humor I would want. But there are certainly times where I've written sketches that were not very good, and I was really enamored of them, but someone might say, you know, that wasn't good and it didn't make sense, and it's worth thinking about, how can I make this make sense?
Great advice.
My advice is focus.
What new, Michael?
Focus on your health. Focus on your mental attitude. If your mind ain't doing right, you know, you can't think your way out of your mind not being right usually. 9 times out of 10, you got to do something physical, or do an exercise, change your eating habits.
Yep.
Don't just eat junk food all day.
Right.
And
That's a
learn
good
what
point.
is junk food and what ain't junk food.
That's a really good point. I was actually thinking about how I want to mention this today, now that we're talking about serious stuff. All the people who wanted serious stuff left because they had to deal with 45 minutes of jokes. So now the people who wanted jokes who've stuck around, we're going to give you really serious, boring stuff. I was thinking about the fact that the most important thing that I do for my life coach clients and that I do for myself is find externally imposed structure. So when you're in school, it's there naturally, and this is why a lot of autistic people do really badly after they graduate, because they don't have the structure anymore if they don't have a job or they don't have an additional school they go to. And
You're doing so good, I ain't never graduated.
Exactly. But yeah, so like getting externally imposed structure where you have something that's forcing you to wake up every day. Ideally something you like doing. So this doesn't work if you hate your job, but I love all 4 of my jobs. And so I'm really grateful that I have the externally imposed structure that doesn't let me follow my basic instinct of staying up till 6 a.m. reading Wikipedia, or whatever it is. You know, it forces me to structure my day, and that's really, really important. As New Michael was saying, you can't argue your brain out of not working right, but if you change your environment and your situation, it will help.
But that being said, you can practice the power of discipline and control of the will. And I think that's a beautiful thing and underrated.
It's important too. We have a question from somebody. What have you taught each other during your time together as a troupe? Well, I couldn't read before we started. Still can't.
I think we've taught each other that that friends, having friends, and missing them is generally something that can be overcome. I remember one time in our first tour, halfway through, I think Noah was at a wedding, and the 3 of us were at a different place, and he texted me saying, "I miss you guys on Facebook." And so I decided I can fix this problem. So I texted him an entire Wikipedia article, and I think it deactivated or made functionally. His phone was functionally not responsive for a while. They kept receiving these asinine texts, and he said that solved the problem. He no longer missed it.
Right.
Remember,
it's better.
If you long for something, you can be cured by making that thing repulsive.
That's a good point.
So I learned that some people just can't be fixed.
Like Ricky with this.
So I have another question for you. What was the most important thing your parents did to facilitate your independence and support your career path and choices?
Conceiving me. Without that, I'd be nothing. Thank you, Mom and Dad. I know you're watching.
Oh, speaking of Mom and Dad, I just got a question from my mom. It's kind of hard to hear you guys on the couch.
Yeah.
So,
get off the couch, stupid! Get out of the wall! Get off the couch!
Yeah, my recommendation to Mom is sit closer to the computer so you can.
It's true. You guys are breaking up because you're at a distance, but you know, we broke up before. We can do it again.
No, we already disbanded one.
It's true. What was the question?
So another question, how do you handle nerves or stage fright?
Ooh, that's a good one. For a little bit in our early career, we would get nervous beforehand, but one of the nice things about being autistic is what happens out here isn't real. So if in your head you're doing everything properly, you're not nervous anymore. It's just if you're like, oh, I can't remember that line, or I can't remember that beat, or I don't know if I like this line, or I don't remember if I like this action or something, that makes you nervous. But the whole audience, you know, it's just a wall of positive reinforcement that don't exist, which is great. In contrast to like 200 people who are individually judging me, which is horribly overwhelming and, you know, you can't tolerate.
Association, that's how you do it, you know?
Yeah.
Learn in the 70s, it applies today like everything else.
The association were around in the 60s. I think they did Windy.
No, I said dissociation. You got to dissociate yourself. You can't really, you know, survive out there.
Mm-hmm.
So many people lose limbs, lose fingers, all that kind of stuff.
It's a sad sawmill fact.
Well, if you think about it as sad, then you're not dissociating right.
Right. But yeah, stage fright. Now go ahead, Jack. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say to add to that, the fact that in many ways it's easier for, at least I think for most of us, if not all of us in the past, it's been easier in some ways to perform to a group rather than a person, because you can't conceptualize every individual person out there. It's just like Noah said, it's a wall of faces. And so it can actually, you know, I used to have pretty bad anxiety when talking to people. But it was a lot easier facing audience because you're not focusing on individual people person, because you can't. So in a way, I think it helped me become more confident talking to individual people, because I was getting this practice performing for a bunch of people who I couldn't even conceptualize as real people. There were too many of those.
Mm-hmm.
Well, two things. First of all, stage fright, what kind of dummy's afraid of a floor? But apart from that, it's like,
are you talking about this dummy?
I kind of agree. That's pretty funny. I kind of agree with my friend Jackie says, but for different reasons. You know, I think an audience is easier than an individual, not for conceptual reasons, but just math. You know, just basic. You know, what you're doing is never going to appeal to everybody, but you have a whole group of people to, you know, that you can get feedback from. So if somebody starts doing something or whatever, you can interact with that one person, or, you know, if there's a couple of people there really laughing hard, it makes a huge difference if it's bombing even to like 80%. So that's why a crowd's better, because it's just statistics.
Yeah, and like in most situations, there's exceptions to this rule, but in most situations, it's more helpful to have somebody like you in what you do than it is unhelpful to have someone dislike you in what you do. Because, you know, if someone sees your show, most of the time you're just going to be like, okay, I don't really care about this, and haven't really lost much. But if someone likes you, then, you know, you might have made a longtime fan, you might have made a friend even.
Or $15.
Exactly. At even better.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I thought you were done. Okay. So what advice do you have for autistic youth who are struggling to figure out their path in life?
Get a map.
I don't think any of us can improve on that.
I use a search engine, use Google.
I was wrong. He did improve on it.
I think that's a really hard question. I'll give a real answer.
I think I might have a real answer too if you're still thinking.
Go ahead.
Depending on how young you are, don't get caught up with thinking, you know, your life has to follow a specific path and you have to have 100 steps all laid out, because it may seem that people plan things, and you may be a very smart person with a very large brain able to make sophisticated plans, but in reality, you kind of got to roll the punches, and you can have a sort of a direction you're going, but if you need to have an entire plan done perfectly, 10 steps, 100 steps, whatever it is, how many years, well, that's ain't nobody can do that, because you don't know what the future's going to bring. You don't know how you're going to change. To have a general strategy, maybe a general direction, and figure it out. Gain skills, have a positive attitude, network, find what you like to do.
Find what you like to do and find people who have done it before.
Find what you like to do that's valuable to other people. Don't be stupid. All right? Don't matter how much you like something if it's not valuable to somebody else. Be stupid.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
Like having sawdust-free lungs, but I have
Yeah, I want to second what New Michael's saying of just think about. You can do something I do a lot with clients who are young and don't know what they want to do for a living, which is look at the list of jobs on Craigslist. They have categories or on something and be like, okay, what of these fields interests me? Okay, this field is interesting. Like I want to be a TV editor or something. Now you can click on that and figure out how many jobs there are on there. Probably not many, but now you look up who is a TV editor who's making money? How did they get there? Did they need to go to school for it or not? And if not, how did they get the qualifications necessary? And then really work backwards of how can I become this thing that I want to be. That said, not everyone can do this. And if you can't,
not all of society's rules are important. Some of them are. I'll figure out which ones are important and which ones aren't, and in what situations they're important and which ones they're not. And, it's difficult,
That's really good advice too. Like eye contact is necessary during job interviews, and if the police stop you, that's about it. You don't need to force it the rest of the time if it's unpleasant for you. And similarly, there's, my hair is messy a lot of the time, but I look okay despite it, so I don't care unless I'm at a job interview or something like that. And in those cases, yeah, you do need to listen to what other people are telling you. Even if you hate it, even if it feels wrong and weird, you do need to pay attention. But a lot of the time, you can just be yourself and be cool, and your coolness and your lack of concern for the societal norms will supersede the fact that you're not following things in this sort of irrelevant way, and you can become really, really cool. But it's a risk.
And I want to expand too on the positivity aspect that Michael and Noah have already mentioned. It's not just part of it is that people on the spectrum can get overwhelmed pretty easily, so it's important to avoid that trap. Continually reminding yourself of the positive. Practicing ethical thankfulness is really important. I think being thankful for what you have rather than focusing on what you lack. But also just there's a lot of practical benefit to assuming that things will work out in a general sense, and I don't mean that just be naively assume everything will work out and not do anything. But to a certain extent, it's better. You're much better off. If people see you as confident and happy, then you're more likely to actually succeed. It's a self-reinforcing feedback loop. You're less likely to get stuck in your negative emotions, and you're more likely to be liked by people.
I actually have there's actually kind of like a magic word to me, how not to be overwhelmed. Actually, a lot of people think I'm joking when I say it, and partly it's true, but there's actually the magic words. I first learned it when I was being trained at the sawmill. The magic words.
No, don't say the magic word.
The magic words are, it's really simple. And people think I'm joking when I say it, but actually, when I'm overwhelmed by something or whatever, if I just say it's really simple, actually, by affirming that, it almost makes it come true, because immediately all the variables collapse in my brain into only what the most important ones are. So if you just practice that kind of thing, maybe it'll work for you too, maybe it won't, but just say, hey, it's really simple. And then you start not being overwhelmed by irrelevant stuff that don't matter.
It is really important to be confident and decide I'm going to succeed at this, as opposed to, you know, I can't, or I'm overwhelmed by uncertainty, or I don't understand any of the many things that the world is asking of me, and so I don't know what to do, because no one respects an anxious person who's uncertain of themselves. It's just not impressive. But you can be overconfident and decide that everything you do is perfect, which is also foolish. So in an ideal world, we can look at ourselves as we really are and see what our potential is and follow that, and not beat ourselves up because we haven't achieved it yet. This is
I do the beating.
This is something that I've had on my wall for about 10 years that I used to need, but I don't need anymore, because I just do this naturally. But it's
letters and you
what, Ethan?
Well, that used to be part of an envelope.
It was part of an envelope. Always reuse things. There's no reason for you to buy blank paper when people mail you trash all the time. But I do all these things every day, and it really, really helps. You know, if you don't get sunlight on your skin, if you don't exercise, you will feel worse. And it's basic science. But I know your impulse is to sit there reading Wikipedia for 15 hours straight or whatever it is, or playing video games all day. I don't let myself play video games because I know I will never stop. And so this sort of structure helps me stay productive and have 4 jobs.
I see. Do you spend any time watching your own documentaries?
We watched the premiere, and I don't think we've seen it since, right? Oh,
I don't consider it my documentary because, first of all, I didn't make the thing. If I made the thing, it'd be 1,000 times different. What you gotta understand is that anybody who makes a movie gets to basically say whatever they want is true, because it's how they, you know, put the sequencing and what clips they choose. Everybody knows that. But then apart from that, it's so different. If I ever see the thing, it's like watching a different guy, basically. I don't see that as the same guy as me.
well, I agree. You weren't even in the movie. There was this young guy named New Michael in the movie. He didn't have an orange hat.
Yeah, it's not really our movie. It's a movie some person made
About us. Yeah.
But it sounds slightly more important to say our movie than movie somebody else made about us. So I tend to say that, even though it's why.
Think of it as fan.
As best as they can be for you, and that can change the situation. It doesn't matter. So if it makes it look better to call it your movie, call it your movie. That's my advice to anybody who's in a movie.
Think of it as fan fiction. That's what any documentary is.
We actually write our own fan fiction.
That's true. I forgot about that.
There's a lot that goes on in those stories. Some of us wish was real.
It's true. We had I'll tell you all a fun story. For about, I don't know, 6 months or something, we had an Excel spreadsheet that we shared, just the 4 of us, that no one else ever saw. It was just a schedule for keeping watch. And it was every day broken up into 6-hour shifts, and then each of our names for each shift. And this didn't refer to anything. This was just a schedule we created to keep watch. And so to this day, we will be like, Ethan, why weren't you keeping watch last night? As if this was a actual job we had. And that's the sort of fan fiction that we do actually make for ourselves. It makes me laugh when I remember that. That was fun.
I like to think of the more raunchier stuff. Is the thing.
I know.
I think you can watch is plenty raunchy.
Yeah, it is. Well, it depends on what you're watching.
If you keep watching, eventually something raunchy will happen.
No, that's a fallacy. That's a thing. People who say that, like, pie includes every combination of everything. Just because it's infinite doesn't mean it has everything.
I only say fallacy on the screen.
Can we mute them?
Where's the
Powers that
guy?
So I have another question from the audience. How did you get involved with Netflix and HBO? How did those docuseries, documentary come about?
Well, in 2005, I found myself really bored. I was unemployed, so I was like, I kind of want to just watch DVDs all day. So I got a Netflix account. They started mailing me West Wing every few days. I'd watch it all day, every day. I was a big loser. I didn't go anywhere or see anybody. I was just addicted to watching TV. And then I became very depressed and realized this is horrible and is making me suicidal. And then I got the job working at the camp where I met these guys and learned I'm not allowed to watch TV except during meals or with other people. And that's how I got out of Netflix until they made our movie.
If anybody out there is ambitious and want to be in show business, the way you do it is make sure you log on to Netflix on a computer that's got a webcam. And basically, they screen all those. So if you're doing your impression of what you see on what's going on the Netflix, if you're doing your impression of it in front of a webcam, they actually see that and they will contact you. So just support a lot relentlessly and have a positive attitude, and eventually it'll happen.
What were you watching that you did an impression of where they decided to let you on?
I don't want to admit what it was.
Okay.
Get myself in trouble.
Was it the Asperger's or Us documentary? Because that's how I got on.
I think it was Gilmore Girls. Yeah, probably.
You're really bad at doing an impression of them, Jack. I'm surprised Netflix took you. I mean, the real answer to this question, because people are always like, I want to be on TV, and like, someone has to contact you who's in the film industry and then make a movie about you.
People are so dumb. They think it's important. We think we're important just because we were on Netflix. But like any guy can get online. You put a camera in front of him and you get online just because it's got the Netflix thing on it. People think it's important.
The thing is, a lot more people around the planet watch YouTube than Netflix. So if you can just get a webcam and upload something to YouTube, you're on a bigger platform than Netflix.
I mean, we're on YouTube. That's the thing you haven't mentioned yet.
We're on YouTube?
We've been on YouTube for some time. Well, actually, that was because we auditioned.
No, it works the same way as Netflix. You got to see our impressions. We were watching.
No. You're auditioning. There's a really lengthy process to get on YouTube. It's like America's Got Talent.
We did our impression of the hydraulic press. Even with the press. That got squeezed.
Impressing. So yeah, I don't know. Alex Lehman made our movie and our TV show, and Mark Duplass helped him edit and sell it to those channels, and we're very grateful to them for those things.
We're just filled with gratitude. We're so full of gratitude we might burst. Watch out.
So, well, what plans do you have going forward during the pandemic as we hopefully come toward the end of the pandemic? But in the meantime, what are you going to be doing? Will you be doing virtual shows or putting things on YouTube, or what kinds of plans do you have?
You know, it's not actually all that important to use shampoo. As long as you use conditioner, you'll be okay.
We could see. That's why you're wearing that orange hat.
It's kind of like a scam almost.
More like scam food, am I right?
How is it beneficial to you? Because you're using just as much conditioner as you would shampoo.
Because they say use both.
Oh, I always just use a combination. Shampoo, conditioner, soap, toothpaste, protein bar. It's not a very well-known product.
A detailed regimen.
I mean, it's great. I don't buy literally anything else ever. I save a lot of money. It's easy. No.
Your food group right there.
Yep. All 4 food groups.
Pyramid, because it don't come out straight enough to be a pyramid. It's like a food pie.
It's not a pyramid. That's true.
The food block.
Yeah, I don't know. Our plans are maybe if the pandemic ends in time, we will do a show this year. Otherwise, if anybody wants to hire us to do digital shows, we can.
Looking to get a camera. Does anybody have advice? Should I go with Nikon? Should I go with Canon? Another brand? Mirrorless, of course. I had a Nikon Z50, a good entry-level model, but I'd like to buy a camera of my own.
I think Nike makes good cameras.
Nikon?
No, Nike.
Nike?
Mm-hmm. I've heard it argue both ways.
Nike cameras.
I can show you after this call.
Okay.
I'm going to keep working, teaching and working with clients online. I'm really lucky I get to stay home and do my job. I basically never leave. I wanted to say thank you very much for having us here. It's great to be here in my house where I spend 98% of my time.
Hats off to you guys. Oh, balls! Hey! Hey, bald head!
It's amazing. Before this Zoom started, you had a full head of hair.
Made you bald.
You aged quickly.
It was orange. Anything else?
So, yeah, any last comments you have before we wrap up?
Okay, be happy, be positive. You're like my buddy Frank, who lost his finger, but he still lives a happy, fulfilling life, a great family.
I think I want to say I'm really grateful to all of our fans. You've given us the chance to do really cool stuff, and we hope that we can continue to be funny in the future. And if anybody wants to hire us to do a special, hit us up.
We're regular, either one.
Yeah, exactly. Hire us to do a 1 hour normal.
Or better yet, listen to all your favorite songs on YouTube and have a good evening.
Well, thank you so much, Noah, New Michael, Ethan, and Jack, for being here with us today and sharing your incredible journey with us. We appreciated this opportunity to learn more about your work and get to know you more. We hope this event has also been an inspiration to others who might be considering careers in the entertainment industry or simply pioneering uncharted territory. How can our audience find out more about Asperger's or us?
Well, there ain't no such thing as uncharted territory anymore since they got satellite dishes up there. But
you're forgetting the Earth's mantle. There's plenty of uncharted territory in there.
And you don't know nothing.
You forgot to thank Hubert, who I think really deserves credit for giving me all of the answers to all of my questions. aspergersorus.com, and if you, Facebook, Asperger's or Us, that's got some good stuff. Oh, and shout out to Jack, who's going to be a grown-up soon.
Oh yeah, I'll be 28 soon. The year people finally become adults.
Yeah, we'll post on Facebook just for that, and then not again for 6 months.
Okay. Becoming an adult, something you learn, not something that happens.
That sounds excellent. Well, thank you again to our listening for being here, and thank you to our guests for your time. We really appreciated having you here with us today. For those of you who are interested, please tune in for our upcoming special event on April 28th on the federal response to address the needs of people on the autism spectrum during the coronavirus pandemic. We have posted information about this on the IACC website at iacc.hhs.gov. So thank you again, and goodbye.
Forever.
Take care.
Bye.
All right, thank you. You were great. You were great.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Susan. That was awesome.
I forgot to thank you on air.